their team, Infi, who was really a Warcraft 3 legend and is playing Warcraft 3 in the Code series as well. Um, and Xiaoyan and Xiaoguchi, who are very competitors with Peggy there. But Peggy definitely deserves this spot. And Zuiwo banned his control warrior, which I suppose to be because we see a lot of times he play control warrior in the team Star League. And I guess that's a very smart move. And he's now able to open with the face shaman.
Right, and the druid of Zuiwo was banned out by Peggy here. Would be a reasonable ban just for the control warrior itself, but also if he's playing freeze mage. In any case, we're going to be having Reno Lock versus aggro shaman here. Kind of an interesting Reno Lock. He has actually Mal'Ganis, which is a card you don't see nearly as often. Even the Void Caller, which is a card you definitely don't see too often in Reno Lock, but it looks like he's playing kind of a hybrid format here. Does have the Reno in hand already, so this is looking, even though Zuiwo has a pretty fast start here, it's looking pretty good for Peggy just because of that Reno.
Yes, definitely. I mean, hitting your opponent hitting for 20 plus is definitely what you want to see as an aggro deck. And actually, what the interesting thing about Reno Lock is actually you just put cards that appeared in hand lock for some time, then you pick 30 of them. I mean, it definitely Warrior Collar and Mal'Ganis is something you can put into the Demon Handlock. So, I mean, that's a choice you can make as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, there's been a lot of variants of Reno Lock. It is starting to stabilize, though. I mean, people are starting to realize what the best variants out there are, and this is certainly not one of them, at least as far as what's been tested. But obviously, there's still room for experimentation here and there. So, with a bit of a decision here after this Tempo BGH was played out. He can't really put his opponent on anything in particular here. Seeing this Tempo BGH may make him think that this is Malilock. He's also thinking about potentially playing the Totem Golem, and perhaps you can just use the Lava Shock next turn because you're not getting anything out of the mana that you're getting out of this thing. And if you play the Totem Golem, perhaps you prevent yourself from dying to anything crazy, or your board from getting wiped by anything crazy. But yeah, it's going to be that Lava Shock instead, realizing that he doesn't want to throw away this Tunnel Trog, doesn't want to give his opponent a clear here for free, and let's see what he goes for here. He could go for, something like that Knife Juggler plus the Totem Golem, go for the 50-50 chance on getting a ping off on Mr. Brand Bronze Beard right here. But in any case, he is getting a bit of damage here. I mean, it's still pretty difficult for him to be able to kill his opponent before Reno comes down, but he's certainly going to try. And let's see if he goes for the risky play. I think if he knew his opponent had Reno, he'd go for the risky play here. But it looks like that is going to be the determination in the end. Otherwise, okay, so he does hit the Bran. Let's see what he kills it with. I think I'd prefer killing with the Totem Golem because 2 damage is kind of hard to do. And even if your opponent has Hellfire, they're still leaving 1 minion on the board. Though leaving 2 3/1s on the board, 2 3/1s if your opponent has Hellfire on the board, it would be pretty difficult as well.
Yeah, that's definitely the case. But at the same time, do you want to give your opponent some chance to draw a card with that Motokoyo, which he might well have?
You did, however, just see your opponent use 2 3-drops in a row. Like, you saw him coin into one and use the other one. So, if he uses the Monocoil, not likely to have any sort of follow-up. And indeed, Peggy does just go for the Implosion there instead of the Monocoil.
Yeah, that's definitely true. And now Zuiwo has a choice to make. He can actually only play 1 card, since I don't think he wants to play the Rock Battery, which definitely the card you want to save to use in conjunction with the Doom Hammer.
The thing is,
what do you do?
The thing is, if he knows that this is Reno Lock, maybe he just pushes for as much damage as possible. If he could see his hand, or see his opponent's hand, his play would be Crackle and Rock Biter here, because it's almost certainly going to be Loatheb next turn from Peggy, and then it's going to be into the Reno, but it's kind of hard to make that determination. We might just see the Argent Horse Rider come out here instead. and maybe even the rock biter. Like, yeah, looks like it's going to be the rock biter just to make sure that no taunts come up. And this is going to put his opponent on 6, which means that Pegy might actually just be dead here before Reno. And this is the problem with, using a coin too early to try to get the board back. You might need that coin for later. And yeah, he's not even going to go for the Loatheb, it seems. So that's going to be it, I think. There's no way to clear this board. There's a Crackle in hand. He can't use Loatheb, so there's basically no way for him to come back. And a Reno lock is going to die with Reno in hand before he gets out the Reno. This is very sad for Pegy here.
Could he tapping? Could
He
he tapping something?
doesn't. I mean, Dark Bomb. There's nothing. Yeah. I mean, he's gonna. Yeah, as you can see there, he does tap. Doesn't pick up anything, but I'm pretty sure there's nothing he could have tapped into anyway. He would have to have some AoE, and that's going to be it. Pegy is going to fall in that first game. That is just sweet justice for all you Reno haters out there, and basically a nightmare for everyone who hates aggro shaman. On the other hand, but yeah, Zuiwo is going to be able to clear his shaman, and yeah, Pegy still has 3 decks left. On the other hand, Zuiwo probably could have maybe cleared his shaman against some of the other decks in Pegy's lineup, but certainly nice to get that win there. On the other hand, Zuiwo doesn't. I mean, what did we see from Pegy there? We saw a BGH, a Bran, and an Implosion. So this definitely could be melee lock if you're looking from the perspective of Zuiwo. So there is that kind of silver lining there for Pegy that he didn't really give too much away by dying right away.
Yeah, and we are now having a sense of being overnumbered by the Chinese casters there. We see a lot of them over 3 days, and we now have a different setup as well. We have Androni, we have Mama, we have Highland, who actually is a long-time Chinese Hearthstone player. He played for Janshi TV, but has disappeared for so. But actually, I'm really glad to see him back here casting this tournament as well.
I'm just waiting for the day when we see Androni and Montage in the same casting desk. But anyway,
that happened before, and we are probably going to see that someday in the future.
All right, so I am looking forward to that, definitely. In any case, we are going to be having the Zulok now going against the Freeze Mage of Pegy here. And for Zuiwo, it looks like he's wondering whether or not he should keep his Imp King boss. He's throwing away Mal'Ganis for sure, it seems like. But yeah, Imp King boss is really annoying for Freeze Mage to deal with, and actually pretty good against basically. It's just a really good card on 3 against basically any deck, unless you're playing as, I guess, mid-range Paladin, which tends to have True Silver, and he does pick up the Flame Imp while keeping that in-game boss. That's absolutely huge. But yeah, if you unless you're playing against a weapon class that has a way to kill it right away, like with Deathbite or True Silver, it is just really a nightmare for most classes to deal with. So that's why he's kept it here. And it's just going to be the coin into Mad Scientist for Pegy here. Actually, pretty good hand for Pegy as well. He can utilize this Mad Scientist to kill off one of either the Mad Scientist, or excuse me, the Night Juggler, or the Flame Imp. And then from there, he can Frostbolt the other one, not take any damage in the meantime.
Yeah, I mean, actually, this is really a good judgment from Pegy, not going with that Druid. If he goes with the Druid, he's probably finished right here, because it's really a bad match for Druid, and he will be up against uphill battle of 0-2. And this is actually a good matchup for Pegy here with Freeze Mage against the 2. But
well, yeah, I think that was I mean, it was a good decision, yes, but it was a pretty obvious decision too, because Freeze Mage beats both Paladin and a lot of Warlocks, and Druid actually loses to both of those. So, I mean, I guess if you're wondering, if you're thinking maybe he was playing something else, a different kind of Warlock, then that makes a difference there. But yeah, ends up working out in the end for him here. So looks like Zuiwo actually took a chance there. By playing the Night Juggler after attacking it. Maybe he wanted to know right away what kind of mage he was playing against, and giving his opponent Night Juggler isn't too big of a deal, since you can't really play 2 minions on turn 2 anyway, especially after having used the coin. So it makes a bit of sense there for him to play it afterward, just to make sure. But he definitely knows at this point, and if he somehow didn't know at this point, he is going to get even more confirmation from this ice barrier that's up here. Lothar in the hand of Zuiwo is one of the, if not the most important card against Freeze Mage, particularly in the Zoo Arsenal. I don't really imagine he's playing any sort of Kazan Mystic in here since it's not the Team League.
Yes, that's definitely the case. Even though we have seen kind of tech choice, interesting tech choice, we see Sacrificial Pack, which is definitely a card there that you Warlock can use. Yeah, but Calamity is not very popular even in China now. And another thing you can do to freeze mage is Ragnaros, but Ragnaros are not that popular as well. I mean, given how the meta has evolved.
There was a while when Ragnos was actually played in Secret Paladin. It was about a month or so there, but looks like it's tailed off a bit here. In any case, Zuiwo has an interesting decision to make. This Bloodline Silence is actually kind of annoying, considering that it's much easier to just Frostbolt the King Boss, for instance, and just all that stuff. But we'll see what he goes with. He could actually just take that out with the Haunted Creeper and then hit the face with the King Boss if he favors the damage that way. And it looks like he's just going to go for the Defender Argus. So I imagine we're going to see a lot of damage to face here. Actually going to go everything to face, it looks like. Okay. So yeah, he definitely needs to kill as fast as possible. And, not killing out this Blood My Selnos with his minions is definitely a reasonable risk that he's taking here.
The course of action that you can take. Killing, I think you ping the Abusive Surgeon, do you?
Right, it's kind of interesting that he hasn't, speaking of Pegy, he hasn't sacrificed his Bloodmage Thalnos yet because he doesn't have anything really to do with it right now, and you're not taking any damage off the field by killing off this Haunted Creeper. In fact, it makes it easier.
Well, I mean, that would make the play you previously made a mistake, won't it? Like,
yeah, he played the Ice Barrier before attacking, and he actually got the Frost Nova, so he could have Frost Nova Doomsayer this turn, and and that would have been after killing off the Haunted Creeper as well. So there weren't any death rattles. I mean, his opponent maybe could have played the the Nerubian Egg into it, but yeah, a pretty significant misplay there. I mean, if you're going to draw cards, you draw them first, and even if he was considering whether or not to draw cards, you have to make the consideration beforehand.
Oh, not playing the Lothar this turn is kind of great.
I do like the play of not playing the Lothar because you're not close enough to killing your opponent. You can get a bit of damage here, but it's probably irrelevant, especially because you have no damage from your hand. And I mean, he did pick up 2 damage here with the Direwolf Alpha, but in the end, I do like Zuiwo's play. You really want to get them very, very close to dying. Or basically have 2-turn lethal or 2-turn ice block pop before you play out the Lothar, and that wasn't the case.
Yeah, that's true. And actually, the mage will be on turn 6 instead of turn 7, which maybe is a reason that they will decide to play the Lothar later. And he's actually not filling his board, so he's all right with the 6 minutes he has. He won't be at any risk of dying just to spells, and you can play anything.
Right, so if Zuiwo had played out the Lothar there, it would have been immediately met with just this Thaurissan, so that's obviously part of the reason why he didn't do that. And now we have a decision here for Zuiwo. I mean, he could pop the egg and then play Lothar, which would be pretty annoying for Pegy to deal with. If he doesn't play Lothar, it's kind of risky to pop the egg because your opponent can just Flame Strike you. So, yeah, this is kind of a difficult situation. The thing is though, now that this Thaurissan is out, I mean, usually the magic number for playing, I mean, you don't play Thaurissan, or excuse me, you don't play Lothar against Freeze Mage before turn 8 because they can Frost Nova or, play a secret for 8 mana. But now with this Thaurissan out, now that secret number has turned to 7 mana, so even if you play Lothar up here, he can still Frost Nova, which is a bit of an issue.
Yes, it's definitely one of the concerns that Zuiwo might well have, and decides to play Lothar, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it makes a bit of sense, since he doesn't really have too much else to do here, and he's decided to pop his Nerubian Egg. Tapping last is a bit of a misplay there. He could have maybe figured something else out here, but it was just really an awkward situation overall. He didn't want to get rid of the minions that he had on board. I think it was a bit of an awkward situation there, having the egg on the left side, but I guess he wanted to trade off his 1/1s there. On the side of Peggy here, I imagine he just wants to use Frost Nova. This is a lot of damage on the board, and anything else is just really asking to die.
Yeah, and actually, Frost Nova, you have actually very good play next turn with Flame Strike, and or you can just uh, Cone of Cold and into Doomsday, trying to target the biggest attack minion and just get a bulk here next turn. So I don't think you play the Hourglass of Pain here because you don't have
Well,
Ice Block
okay,
active.
I think Peggy, honestly, it seemed strange here, but I think he was going to be Frost Noving the entire time. He was just thinking about his next turn because Freeze Mage can be very complicated, and he's thinking about how he's going to win this game in the long run, and I think that's the reason why he didn't Frost Nova right away. I mean, it was more than obvious a Frost Nova there, and I think he was just thinking about his next turn or the turns to come.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the possibilities. Uh, what do you do here? Do you check Dr. Peddler first or you tap?
Um, You might have to continue tapping. I mean, Mal'Ganis is one of your best options. I mean, basically now that you've played Lothab, Mal'Ganis is the other thing that you have going for you that you can utilize to kill your opponent. I guess Doctor Boom is like kind of the third thing, right? Since those boom bots can be really annoying, and also the 7 health creature is really annoying to deal with as well. So yeah, if you're Zuiwo here, I think you need to keep tapping to try to get Mal'Ganis. You could also play Dark Peddler to get more damage in your hand potentially. But yeah, I think you basically just tap and play Dark Peddler, but he's taking a long time here, and looks like he's just gonna go for one Boombot, which is a bit
One,
surprising to me.
yeah, one Boombot feels bad, and actually Boombot is one of the best tools that you can deal with Freeze Mage because the Boombots may be exploded on your opponent's turn, which may kill your opponent, even if they have the secrets active. And now, because I did this, but oh, double Doomsday is something he could do, but
I think Peggy didn't realize he was going to have mana to ping after he played both Doomsayers and Cold Cold and um, Icelands. So yeah, looks like he could have maybe pinged the Boombot beforehand, but this play is reasonable as well. I guess the Imp King was low enough to be able to Flame Strike next turn, so he can save maybe a ping or something else for the Doctor Boom. But yeah, not much to do here for Zuiwo. I think he has to continue to tap, honestly. He's already seen one Icelands, one Frost Bolt, and his opponent only has 4 cards in hand. Um, and yeah, I just think you have to keep tapping here if you are Zuiwo. You need to find more options.
yeah, and but in the meantime, that having just bring your hostile down as well. Uh,
There's no way to kill both of these Doomsayers even with Power Overwhelming. He would be still a few damage short, so there's nothing really to do here. You just kind of hit the face and move on. Perhaps he's thinking about future turns as well, and thinking about how to utilize his stuff. Maybe thinking about what his opponent could possibly have here and why he's playing the way he is. Definitely, I mean, it's kind of smart here to utilize, prior turns when you're not doing anything to think about future turns and make sure you don't make any mistakes going forward.
yeah, I mean, he might be thinking Power Omen on something and going to phase, which might be an option because there is a possibility that you don't have any. Your board just got constantly clear, and you don't have anything to stick with, and your Doom guy will throw it away probably, and you want to assure damage output there.
Hmm. Yeah, that's definitely a possibility here. In any case, for Peggy, he has an open board with which to work. He looked like he's reaching for Alex Strauss. I'm going to heal his own face. Definitely makes a bit of sense. Doesn't want to die, and the 4 damage to his opponent doesn't really make too much sense right now. It could have gotten him lethal if his opponent didn't have anything to, or didn't have a way to deal with the Alex Strauss, but as long as he stays alive, he should have a. And if his Alex Strauss is unopposed, he should be fine as well.
Yeah, I mean, you don't really. I was reminded of the Doom guy double kill meme again, but not very likely given that Zuiwo doesn't have any meaning on board. I think yeah, you check the Dr. Paddy to see if you get anything good. I think abuse setting is really good, but you probably won't get a taunt, but a 2-1 taunt is not that satisfying.
Right, and everything he puts out here, if he puts out the Void Caller and the tournament attendee, they're both going to get wiped out by Flame Strike. So yeah, Abusive Sergeant is a bit of extra damage. I imagine you just throw down all of your demons here. Well, maybe not the Flame Imp, maybe that's a bit too risky, but okay, he's going to go for the Flame Imp. I'm fine with this as well, if you're going to play risky. Can actually tap here. Zuiwo taking a bit too long with his turns, I think. He needs to kind of think quicker. In the end, that one drop wasn't really as important as I think he thought it was. And unless, I mean, Mal'Ganis isn't going to come out of this, so that's going to be game. It's going to be Flame Strike, Fireball to the face, and even if Mal'Ganis comes out, you can just kill it with your Alexstrasza, which isn't too big of a deal. Especially since Mal'Ganis would be out of the way at that point. All the big minions would have been out of the way. But that's going to be game. Pegy is going to spot it, and he is going to take game number 2 and tie the series 1-1.
Yeah, Freeze Mage is very good against both remaining decks from Zuiwo, so not very surprising for him to tie the series. And a very interesting choice for Zuiwo because we know that Celestial players really like to play Secret Paladin. So there might be a Secret Paladin, and he now has to choose from Secret Paladin and Zulok, which are actually very good against Druid, which is a deck there for Pegy.
Right, yeah. So the choice of Zulok will be pretty beneficial as far as going against Druid. It is, however, not too great against Renalock. I think it's even more of an underdog against Renalock than it is against Handlock, for instance, which is obviously a classic matchup there. But yeah, going forward, I mean, both of the decks of Zuiwo, however, are favored against Druid, and that's very important in Conquest. If it's last hero standing, then maybe Pegy would have a chance to basically take both games with his Renalock. But in this situation, I really like Zuiwo just because of the fact that it is Conquest.
That's definitely true. Yeah, here we have Pegy interview. He said basically I started playing Hearthstone because I didn't have that much time to play games after I graduated. But yeah, Hearthstone you can play anytime you want, and I became obsessed with it and decided to go to a professional team and to become a professional player. And I'm really happy with my decision.
Yep, certainly working out decently for him. I was able to get the nominee from his team, Vici Gaming, to be able to play in this Gold Series tournament. You can see right there the situation of this series as they make it disappear right away in front of our eyes. But yeah, it's going to be the Zulok of Zuiwo as well as the Paladin, which we haven't seen yet, versus the Druid and the Renalock of Pegy. So again, like we said, since it is Conquest, do favor Zuiwo since he can potentially get 2 wins off from the Druid. On the side of Pegy, if he can get a win with his Druid, he would be favored here because of the fact that his Renalock does, usually is able to defeat both the decks of Zuiwo, but overall, because of the percentage here, I do like Zuiwo in this situation. Looks like it's going to be the Renalock first from Pegy. Wants to get that out of the way, wants to basically get some more information about his opponent's decks, and Zuiwo not going to be showing Pegy, excuse me, what his Paladin is, at least quite yet. And just going to be going with his Zero right here. If it was more like Paladin, I suppose, then that would be favored against the Reno. But in this, it would be pretty risky to play for this game in particular because Druid would beat it. But yeah, we're going to see this matchup. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say actually, Zuiwo wasn't quite sure what this Warlock is because the game ends so quickly. The first game.
Oh, right. It could be Malloc, right, in his eyes. It is, however, a very strange Renalock. It's very demon-filled. He even has Void Color in this deck, so that's kind of an interesting setup for him. Coin Ooze is the play for Pegy, and Zuiwo doesn't have the greatest option for it. He could play out a Direwolf Alpha, but if his opponent has something like Dark Bomb, it could be an issue. On the other hand, there is the owl for this this haunted creeper, and just gonna get rid of that right away. Some people watching this might think like, oh, aren't there bigger things to owl in these, the zoo, like void collar, things like that? But if you're able to get the early game, that allows you time to deal with the late game, which is something a lot of players kind of miss sometimes. But yeah, just going to be right on curve here for Pegy. Coin 2 into 3, into 4, into 5 as well, looking at his hand. So that's actually insane. Pegy saying, I am the zoo here. But
Yeah, definitely very Zui Reno lock there. And Zuiwo might have some and difficulty understanding, oh, what is this?
right.
And,
It's like, I thought I was playing as Malilog, what's going on? But now that he's seen all these cards, he probably realized, I mean, I guess you could play both Owl and Ooze in Malilog, but you're cutting a lot of cards at that point. You're making your deck a bit less consistent. So right now he might be starting to realize that this could be Reno Lock. And on the side of Zuiwo, I think I see a pretty clear play here. You just go for the Abusive Sergeant, kill off their Inking Boss, and then play your own Inking Boss. And even though your Abusive Sergeant gets a pretty easy kill, or dies pretty easily to your opponent's imp, it's still, I mean, you have a pretty solid board at that point, so I don't really see what the holdup is. Everything else is kind of awkward.
I mean, he might be communicating with the Dark Power to see how much he can get from the implosion.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, but if you hit for 3, it's, I mean, missing on an implosion, it's, I mean, if you really need to kill something and you miss, it's bad, but if you miss on an in-game boss, it's really, really bad because it actually gives them more imps, and then you don't even kill it anyway. So
yeah, and you can also save for that life juggler on turn 6 that you can play the combo, and you got a lot of juggle at the same time.
right.
So definitely reasonable to save for that.
So yeah, he does go for that play and puts himself in a pretty good position. Even after Peggy's turn, Zuiwo still has, kind of parity on the board. However, if he does decide to kill off this Void Caller, it will pop out a Doomguard, which is not what you want to see at all. So we'll see what the play is here. I imagine it's going to be tap into a Direwolf Alpha. He could actually just use one Implosion since he has the second one here, I suppose. But yeah, it's just going to be
bad. The tap first to check what you get from the tap.
Well, you can't play Implosion if you tap, so that's what he's thinking about right now. So yeah, basically it's going to be either Direwolf Alpha tap or it's going to be Implosion. I can't really see anything else other than that. So yeah, he's going to go for the Implosion, see what he rolls here. I'm going to roll for 3, fair and balanced, everyone's happy. Obviously Zuiwo's not going to be too happy after this, but going to see what it is first. Sees this the Doomguard. He would have missed a couple damage onto the face if that had been Mal'Ganis, but sometimes you just want to kill it off right away, especially if it's something like a Flame Imp, so that definitely makes sense for him to actually just check it here. A couple damage is not going to make too much difference, especially since you're playing against Reno anyway. But yeah, I mean, Pegy had the better start. Zuiwo started to come back there, but I mean, Void Caller into Doomguard is just too devastating. We'll see if this Knife Juggler plus the Implosion has anything to say about this. Actually, he could just use the Direwolf Alpha, huh? I mean, Direwolf actually could be more damage than Knife Juggler Implosion, strangely enough, despite that being the typical crazy combo. So looking at that, he could go 3 imps into the Sludge Belcher, and actually the last imp to the last Sludge Belcher, and just clear it off just with the imps on board, which is kind of nice. And then from there, I guess tap and then also play the egg, and then you save your Knife Juggler Implosion, which is obviously very powerful. Looks like he's just going to go for the Knife Juggler Implosion though, which means he should at least trade off 1 imp, probably 2 as well. And I'm going to go for the Direwolf Alpha. I guess if he gets 1 damage onto the Sludge Belcher, it's pretty good, because then he's able to just clear out the first half pretty nice and easy. Bit of lag here. Sorry about that for the connection issues. Actually, the knife hits the face, which is pretty unfortunate. Gonna also play out this egg, it seems like, to maximize chances of getting 1 imp, or excuse me, 1 knife on the Sludge Belcher. See if he hits it. Nope, hits the Doomguard. At least it didn't go to the face. So I'm gonna go ahead and start clearing out this guy. And missing the knife is a bit unfortunate, but wouldn't have been too crazy. And yeah, there we go. But pretty even board here. And Shadow Flame is reasonable, I suppose. But it's not like he completely needed it, especially on this board. I mean, he's at 27 health. I don't know I think he might want to save it for Rainier Day than this situation. But yeah, going to be going for the Dark Peddler. yeah, probably gonna go for the Flame Imp. The Blood Imp doesn't really do too much right here. But in any case, he does, by doing the play with the Dark Pillar here, does mean that he can't play the Loatheb. Just pick up the Reno Jackson, which is kind of nice. And the thing about Reno is that until you pick it up, you don't know when you're going to pick it up. So this basically allows Pegy to play completely differently now. He's now in a major advantage. I mean, obviously having it is very, very nice, but this basically changes the game completely. Let's see how many knives. Gets all 4 imp, so that's really good for him, speaking of Zuiwo. But basically, this allows a Pegy to play very, very greedily. If he didn't have the Reno in hand, he might have to play more safe, start focusing on clearing the opponent's board whenever possible. But with Reno in hand, as long as your opponent doesn't have lethal, you're basically fine.
Yeah, and you can stop the lethal by playing Loatheb as well. So, what is Joe thinking about hesitating playing the Voidwalker? Did you?
Yeah, maybe he was thinking about whether or not to play it because he might want to have, like, if his opponent doesn't do anything, then he doesn't have lethal, and maybe he wants to play the Loatheb to prevent anything crazy from happening. What? Okay, this is... I think Pegy is just trying to trigger me by tapping last every single time. I mean, obviously Loatheb is a reasonable play here, but it's just good mechanics to tap first. And yeah, it's just like, nope, I'm gonna play my Loatheb first and then tap. Screw you, D2. Second hand comes in the hand, which is actually pretty nice. We could see a double, trades with the imps and then go with the double egg as well as the Defender of Argus. He's already seen one owl, excuse me. So this would be kind of nice, just to get something on the board. Actually, you know what? He might just play the eggs and not defender them, because then your opponent could attack with the Loatheb and then use something like Shadow Flame or even the Twisting Nether. So maybe it's better to not even just taunt them at all.
Yeah, I mean, egg is something that you want to caution against AoE, and if you taunt it up, you are not really give them a safe place to activate the Death Straddle and oh.
So it looks like he's going for a bit of a half and half play here, and gonna play the egg. So basically, he's gonna have a stronger board, but he's also gonna have a board that's somewhat resilient to AOE here. So I kind of like this play. Actually, gets a lot of power on the board, and if everything goes awry, he still has a 4/4, which yeah, this is actually pretty good because now Pegy can't really play Twisting Nether because he could just die the next turn, and he kind of has to just play Reno here.
Yeah, I mean, going back to play the Shadow Flame, now he didn't have a chance to play Shadow Flame, so maybe given his stack, I still think he should have played as Shadow Flame with the Doom Guard, because you don't really want the... Actually, yeah, he killed the Dark Wolf Alpha, which I think is less important than less particular as far as the Zoo is concerned. Now he has to play the Reno Jackson here.
Right, with all the minions already, cleared off, I guess the Dark Alpha isn't as great.
Oh.
Mal'Ganis comes in the hand. That's a lot of damage. I mean, he basically buffs 3 of the minions on board by +2/+2, which makes it pretty difficult to deal with. However, he would be met with Twisting Nether, and I don't think there would be enough damage on board for Zuiwo to finish the game after that. Alright, so let's see what he does here. Probably going to play Mal'Ganis, and then from there either trade off his Imp or his Nerubian. The Imp is the one that basically goes back down to a 2/2 if Mal'Ganis is cleared off by something like a Big Imp Hunter, so it makes sense to clear off with the Imp instead of the Nerubian. Also could have cleared with a 3/3 if the knife hit, but going to be a lot of damage to the face. But after this Twisting Nether, which I'm certain... Well, Sacrificial Pact, that's okay. Right.
Yeah, I mean, if you are playing so many demons, I mean, Sacrificial Pact is something you can get. I mean...
Right. I think Zen Style is maybe having nightmares if he's still in the chat, because this was something that he put in his chat a while ago about, oh my god, I just got Sacrificial Pact after, I basically thought I got rid of all of his removal. But yeah, I mean, still a pretty strong, option here for Zuiwo to play out his Void Color and his Loatheb. Obviously, you won't get a demon out of it, but it's a pretty strong board, and your opponent really can't utilize Shadow Flame here. But yeah, what do you do here if you Zuiwo? I think you just play it out, and then on the side of Pegy, I mean, then just put the onus on Pegy to make a decision from that point.
Yeah, that's something you can do, but do you want to just tap to see if they have any demon?
I mean, if you tap and for a demon, you can't play your void caller anyway. And you're really all in at this point. I mean, if you let your opponent live for any longer, you're basically just gonna lose this game. So I like going for this. Um, on the side of Pegy, he actually does have a 5-mana Sacrificial Pact, which is pretty good. I mean, it seems crazy, but you basically get rid of that 3/4 heal for 5. It's basically like a Holy Fire for 5 mana, which is obviously better than Holy Fire. Um, so that's kind of nice. He could also play Mal'Ganis, but this is a bit risky in my opinion. Your opponent just, pops an owl, you're basically dead. Whereas the Sacrificial Pact, you're more or less safe. You could also just tap. Well, like, okay, you go to 15 if you tap, which is somewhat risky, but not ridiculously risky, because your opponent would have to, top deck 2 things in a row. But that's all the things that are going through Piggy's mind. He cannot Shadow Flame. So I guess his options here are either Mal'Ganis or Sacrificial Pact here. And it looks like he's
Yeah,
heading toward Mal'Ganis.
yeah. I mean, he didn't see any Doomguard or Power Overwhelming in this game so far, and Zion might be one of them.
Wow, that is Jim Guard.
And
So
that's another.
is that lethal? If he gets any damage off of this, if he gets Abusive Sergeant, if he gets, oh no, it does not get it. So yeah, he's basically 2 damage off lethal here. Um, but there is a Sacrificial Pact in Peggy's hands, so missing lethal here is very problematic for Zuiwo. I imagine he just goes for the taunt, just basically to protect his board here. But I mean, it's really kind of an awkward situation.
Yeah, I mean, going for Taunt is also Demon.
The Reliquary
Uh,
Seeker isn't that great here because he won't be able to. It's very unlikely he'll be able to use it. The 1/3 is just almost strictly better. I forgot what the other one was.
Corruption.
Corruption, right. So Corruption really doesn't do anything. Um, so yeah, I imagine. Well, he could just play out the Doomguard out of his hand if he wanted to. But yeah, he's just gonna go ahead and do this. Just gonna clear out this Mal'Ganis. It's gonna hit the face for 10, but there is a Sacrificial Pact. Is it going to be enough? Is the question. He's actually gonna go for that right away, and then from
Like,
here,
seeing Zero's face.
he can actually just Thorson Shadow Flame. I think you kind of have to do that just because your opponent. I mean, it's painful to get rid of Thorson, but leaving your opponent with a board is very, very bad here. And you can't, if you do anything else, you give away your ability to Shadow Flame. So I think you have to go for that.
Yeah, and next turn you probably uh, play the play for the Boombots. So
Right. Well,
oh
Nat Juggler coming into the hand of Zuiwo here picks up a
oh
Flame Imp,
that's
which
not
is, I mean, it hurts himself, but he kind of has to play it out here. He has to take a chance. I mean, there's even a Zombie Chow in the field, so I mean, presumably that just heals him back up. The knife misses here, and let's see what Pegy can do. Does he have potential lethal 12 9? No, I don't think he does. Even with no, what am I talking about? You can't.
have for your
Doctor Boom.
opponent.
Yeah, you can't Doctor Boom plus Hellfire, but he can go for Brand plus the Doctor Boom and clear off this Knife Juggler. He just goes for the Doctor Boom, it seems like. Oh, he's going to use
Oh,
Mortal Coil to kill off potentially something. Interesting. Does wow. Doesn't clear off the Flame Imp. That is very sad. So yeah, that's a very safe play that he went for. Didn't go for the 4 Boom Bots, realizing that he might just have to win anyway with this Doctor Boom. But I mean, he has to heal his opponent, so it gives his opponent a bit more opportunity here.
oh,
Doctor Boom on the side of Zuiwo, but there's a BGH in the hand of Pegy. This game is kind of insane right now. There's a 10% chance for Doomguard, it looks like, if he does try to tap into it. Looks like that's what he's thinking about. Power Overwhelming 2, I guess, could be, goes up 2-1, and he's on match point. That was absolutely insane.
I still have trouble understanding about the Shadow Flame. I mean, I think that's what lost Peggy the game.
I mean, I can understand it, because you could be facing a huge board with Mal'Ganis and Doctor Boom, whatever, and using the Shadow Flame early on means you can't use it later. Particularly because he wasn't in any sort of trouble. He was still at 27 health. I think that would have been a bit of an
Yeah,
like
and yeah, it's
overreaction, especially
definitely
because there's only one Shadow Flame in your entire deck.
yeah, that's definitely true. But also the decision that he killed the Darth Wolf Apple instead of the Live Juggler, which is kind of problematic. But things are said we are joined by Rapid.
Alright, so let me just add him to the call here. In any case, while we're waiting for Rapid, that is the situation on the screen right there. It's 2-1 in favor of Zuiwo with only his Paladin remaining and going to be going against the Reno Lock and Druid. So looking pretty good for Zuiwo here.
Indeed it is.
Oh,
I
hello,
couldn't
Rapid.
agree more. Hello. Apologies for the somewhat surprising surprise. It's been an extremely long day and full of great experiences, but none greater than getting to cast some Gold Series Hearthstone.
Absolutely. We did see a bit of an upset earlier, NoTomorrow falling to LiBo, but this is kind of the battle of, the up-and-coming players, so to speak. They're very solid. We've seen them in the Hearthstone team story, and really exciting to see them play here. Both of us kind of picked Zuiwo here before the game started, and it looks like we're looking both pretty good. He's up 2-1. In this particular matchup, he's not favored going against the Reno Lock, but he will be favored against the Druid later on. So we'll see if he's able to just pull off one more upset against this Reno Lock with his Paladin, having just beat it with Zoo. But yeah, I mean, reasonable start for Zuiwo here, but going against the Zombie Chow is pretty annoying.
Yeah, Zombie Chow. I was trying to think of a better early game, like 1 mana minions to play. And I was thinking to myself, I was like, well, Mana Wraith with already 1 spell played. Oh, wait, that's Zombie Chow. And you don't really care about the Death Rattle healing your opponent because, I mean, you've got a 1-drop that is on par with a mini bot. Like, that's one of the best cards in Hearthstone, so it's pretty good.
Well, I mean, Guardian Jouster doesn't have any side effects. I mean, if you're a really good house player, it's
okay, Shrink. All right.
Shrink is the king of, well, there's this crazy situation where...
Well, to be fair, I was the king of that for a while, and then it actually came true, and I was predicting the Tree of Life Druid, and at that point, all my dreams came true, my prayers were answered, and I was happy with the way Hearthstone was. So I sort of like passed that mantle on to Shrink, and now that's our resident optimist.
A resident contrarian, actually.
Well, there you go.
Anyway, so it looks like it's going to be the Knife Juggler here coming out onto the boards. Zuiwo kind of realizing that his opponent would have used Dark Bomb there if he had it, so a lot of times you play Minibot because it's safer than Knife Juggler to play, because it's not going to die to anything crazy, but yeah, going to go ahead and just play these things out. Going to play the Competitive Spirit as well, and this definitely makes a lot of sense because it discourages Hellfire in a way. Because your opponent Hellfires, maybe it's Avenge, but gonna turn these guys into bigger guys, 4/3 and a 3/3 Divine Shield. Pretty nice in this situation. Could we see a Divine Favor here is the question. Depends on what this is. Nope, I mean, I guess you go for Muster for Battle first. You can go Muster for Battle into Loath into Mysterious Challenger and then Divine Favor, which is usually ideal. You want to basically thin out your deck before you draw the cards.
Yeah, all right, talking about thinning out your deck. One way to thin out your deck is to play Void Callers and then get Mal'Ganises or Jiraxes. And we've seen that a whole lot in the series at least the series that we've been casting, especially yesterday, where it was especially painful in the first game of the night. But
this Knife Juggler knows where the place is. He knows that face is the place. But
I think at this point you just lights Justice the face and continue to go all in, and then of course next turn, you see Hellfire.
Okay, you know what? I think he's thinking about whether or not he should attack with the Knife Juggler. I know he's 100% hitting this with his face because he doesn't want his Knife Juggler to die for free. But he's wondering if this is Mal'Ganis, he needs to attack the face first to get the extra 4 damage. But he realized that if it was Imp King boss, then he would like to have that nice trade on the board. So, yeah, that didn't work out for him. But going to be the Hellfire, just completely clearing everything up. However, Zuiwo isn't completely out of this yet. He has, as good of a card as you can hope for with this Lothab into the Mysterious Challenger, which are pretty difficult to deal with. And we'll see how Pegy deals with this going forward.
And to be fair, Jiraxis is not an especially scary card on the field. The problem is that it sticks there and has 12 health. So especially if it gets taunted up, like you see the Defender of Argus in hand. Yeah, I was just like, wait a second, that's going to be almost impossible to get through. Except that there's this really cool card called Equality. Makes everybody equal. I like to call it Democracy sometimes, but it also does pretty good at stopping Mal'Ganis's, Jiraxis's, anything too big. And
I was not expecting that at all.
He discarded Healbot
and Defender of Argus.
Like he doesn't have Jiraxis, he doesn't have Healbot, and he doesn't have Jiraxis. Like, okay.
If you put up a Defender of Argus, there's almost no way he dies. I guess he dies to Owl True Silver, Owl Blessing, but that's even if he taps. If you want to play safe, you could just not tap. But he's throwing away cards. I mean, his hand was so good. Other than maybe with Sacrificial Pact, which, I mean, you can get healing off it, but you have to sacrifice your own demons. But his hand was so good. I don't understand. You didn't need to do that.
Like, what happened? Where did this go so wrong?
I know. That was really bizarre, in my opinion. And now we see the Mysterious Challenger come up. There's no Big Game Hunter be able to kill this after the Seeker just popped. And, I mean, he could have had a 3-13, or excuse me, 4-13 Jiraxis, and the ability potentially to play the Zoom Guard this turn, as well as a Healbot to keep him alive while he stalled for time. I don't understand that play at all, to be completely honest. I mean, and it's showing on the board, right? He's in a much worse position than he would have been. I mean, sometimes, casters can be a bit, harsh. Like, I don't know why he's doing this, but then they miss the underlying reason. And, if you look at the end of the game, like, oh, I guess that ended up working out. But, I mean, look at his position right here. It's much worse than it would have been had he not done that.
Much worse. And now, I mean, it sounds kind of weird to say that you're relying on Sacrificial Pact because it's a card that's, not really included in a lot of lists. It's getting extremely scary, especially since... I guess Dr. Boom's pretty good, but not only is it going to have its health reduced to 1, I guess he is going to have to use the Sacrificial Pact here, and he is going to go ahead and get rid of the Doom Guard. No.
Okay, well, it makes sense not to attack because it makes the opponents... I mean, you basically literally just die if that happens. But, yeah, I mean, this is just really awkward. There's actually a lot of damage on the board for Pegy, so maybe he's trying to race here. I mean, he can attack with a Boombot, and then after that he has, 10, 15, 16 damage on board, and if one Boombot hits the face, he is lethal. So, that is something that, obviously, Zuiwo has to be concerned with here, which means he might have to play Knife Juggler. No, he's going to just trade with this this Doom Guard, it seems like, and there's typically not a way for his opponent to have lethal in that case. And going to just face tank the Dr. Boom as well. Wow, Big Game Hunter right on time for Pegy. Still not the best situation because, I mean, he's going to get something avenged. He really wants this avenge to go on the Dr. Boom. 1 in 4 chance here.
Okay, where's it gonna go? And close to the Dr. Boom.
Oh, the Avenge. Yeah, the Avenge does go on the Dr. Boom.
It does. Okay, well there you go. I mean, we talked about Shrink being the optimist. I'd love to think that this is actually going to work. I mean, we all know Dr. Boom's hidden passive, that it summons a Big Game Hunter for your opponent. It's exactly what it did, and now that's pretty much the best case scenario. He even has that, the Sacrificial Pact if he wants to use it. He's gotten a ton of value out of this Jiraxis. So, Eridar Lords of the Burning Legion, that's pretty cool, but sometimes it's your time to go. And I think it might be pretty soon with the Sacrificial Pact.
Right, and I mean, looking at Zuiwo's hand, it's kind of an awkward turn for him at this moment. So I want to go back to something that I wanted to mention a few turns ago. Jiraxis is actually a card that you want to get pulled out of the Void Caller when it's mid-range, when you're playing against mid-range. When you're playing against aggro, you want to play out of hand because you heal. When you're playing against control, you want it out of hand because you need those 6/6s to finish out the game. But against mid-range, you typically don't have the time to do so. So you actually want it pulled out of the Void Caller. So this is actually very, it was perfect for him to get this against the the secret paladin because it really operates on tempo and it helped him out there. But looks like Zuiwo just went for a standard play here. Just got everything out of his hand except for the Divine's Favor, which he can use the following turn. And this is a big fat boom butt, which is actually not going to be messed with here from Zuiwo.
I'm kind of curious as to why you don't. Well, I think you want to use Sacrificial Pact first, just in case it hits your Jiraxis and kills it. But it didn't.
Well, you can point it at stuff, so you can actually do it whenever you want. It's not completely random, but looks like we have a keeper over.
No. I mean, if you kill the Boombot there and the Boombot kills Jiraxis, you obviously can't use your Sacrificial Pact then. So he might have just lost that opportunity there, but it did work out. Unfortunately, Keeper of Voldemort is a pretty cool card. That's a tiny Jiraxis. It's like baby Jiraxis. It's like Jiraxis, or not Jiraxis, Mal'Ganis Jr. He's like running around. He's trying to be all big and scary in his demonic armor, and he's just a 3/3. But
right.
He still does provide invincibility, and that's the big benefit of having him on the field.
And plus attack for these little imps on board. But yeah, I mean, going back to what you were saying earlier, basically he just wanted to buff up the Jiraxis first, and that was able. I mean, he wouldn't. It was really hard for the Jiraxis to die. I mean, he could have used a Sacrificial Pact, but soaking up the boom was actually reasonable as well. He didn't really want his Mal'Ganis to get hit by that guy. But looks like the Sacrificial Pact is going to come out here. Just going to take out a imp, which will help him to stay alive in the future. And Tyrion will help, but it won't be the kind of be-all, end-all here.
That's kind of what's interesting about watching this game is that you see all these like big cards, which you'd expect from late game Paladin, regardless of what kind of Paladin deck you're going against. But they really aren't extremely super scary, although they might start to be now here.
Wow.
Although, oh wow, okay, talk about good one drops to get. And oh my gosh, he's gonna get the ooze. What?
That's pretty good.
I think it's a little bit better than pretty good. It's like, hey, you've got an Ashbringer. Let's turn that Ashbringer to Ash, and he's going to take out all 3 of those charges of durability with the Void Ooze. Wow.
Yeah,
okay, instant concede. It's like, all right, that's a little too good.
Yeah, nothing to do there for Zuiwo. He was basically done on board, and we're going to go into game 5. And we were talking about this basically from 2 games ago, right? That both his Paladin and Warlock were good against the Druid. Pegy obviously went with the stronger class first to see what he was up against regarding Zuiwo's decks, but it still remains the case, even after these 2 games have passed, that Zuiwo is in a more favorable position, and if all he has to do is win one favored matchup, and he goes to the winner's match.
All right, well, like you said, I think for this particular group, I don't know if you guys already did predictions, but I know I was a little bit late to the table, so I'd love to get your thoughts based on how things are going.
Shrink actually picked LiBo and Zuiwo. Zuiwo, I'm not too surprised why he's a very good player, but he picked LiBo, and when pressed, Shrink said that he draws well, and.
I mean, hey, if you have to have one talent as a Hearthstone player, I feel like drawing well is like right up at the top of the list, right underneath Heart of the Cards. So, some good skills to have. I'm a big fan of LiBo because I think he's the only player from Snake represented here in the Gold Series, and I think.
He's the only Hearthstone player on
Well,
Snake,
okay,
so.
to be fair, it's 100% inclusion rate, but I'm a big fan of Snake Esports as an esports organization, so it's nice to see their only player doing well at Hearthstone.
Right. So usually Secret Paladin is favored against Druid, but not when they have Coin, Innervate, Shredder on turn 1, and they have Mind Control tech to fill out the curve later and steal a minion later on in the game. So yeah, this is, I mean, to at least for Zuiwo here, he's able to kind of contest this Paladin Cheddar by getting a bigger Secret Keeper. But well, is this a Noble Sacrifice plus Avenge here? In that case, then this is actually uncontested. So wow, this is actually ended up turning out pretty well for Zuiwo with the pickup of the secret there, and now Pegy can't really deal with this. I guess he's gonna race. It looks like. I mean, I kind of favor a little bit, trading into that Secret Keeper, just because you get the 2-drop later to deal with it. But Looks like he's not going to go do so, and I can't really imagine Zuiwo trading either. Probably just going to hit the face. There's no really real reason to give the opponent a 2-drop back, and honestly, this is really awkward. I mean, I guess you just use the Savage Roar here. I mean, you could just go. You could be greedy again and go for the Shade, but you're taking 6 damage a turn, so I don't know.
I mean,
Yeah, he's gonna go for that. Just gonna kill this off with the Savage Roar. Gets Pint-sized Summoner for his trouble. Gonna kill off the Haunted Creeper, or at least the first half of the Haunted Creeper as well. And I imagine this is gonna get killed off by those Spectral Spiders, and then just play out this Shredder.
yeah, I was going to say that Pegy actually could get a 6/6 Secret Keeper next turn. So very disappointed that he didn't do that. But coming up, very good draws for Zuiwo though. That Repentance is now the Druid wants to see, and already down to 15. What he can possibly do here. Silence is good, but then you couldn't do anything else.
Right, everything is just kind of awkward again for Pegy here, and I mean, I'm gonna get this guy just Repentance here. The one thing going for Pegy is that there's no real option for Zuiwo here. Let's see if he can just pick up Mysterious Challenger right on time. Nope, gonna be the Repentance, or excuse me, the Redemption, which is reasonable. He kind of has the hero power here, unfortunately, because if he doesn't do so, it gives away the fact that it is Redemption. But Zuiwo's running out of cards, but Pegy is at 11 life, which is also obviously a big deal here.
Right. I don't know too many situations where you're just super okay with being at 11 life versus 26. And to be fair, this is a situation that Pegy found himself in, last time he was playing here. So it's like, or in the last game. So it's he's no stranger to being on low life. But of
Ouch.
course, wow. Okay. Well, I mean that's one way to. Get your death rattle effect out there. It's like, let's trade a 4/3 for a 1/1 that doesn't do anything. So a little bit unlucky on the drop.
Alright, well, we have the Haunted Creeper coming out. There is going to be a Tyrion next turn, which can't really be dealt with for Pegy, so that's one thing going for Zuiwo here.
You could steal it with the Mind Control, certainly.
That is true. So, okay, so going to be a healing here rather than drawing for cards. And we'll see if Zuiwo plays around that. I can't really imagine you'd do so. But let's see if Pegy can hit a 1-4 once again. He got the 1-4 Revenge last time, which really saved his game last turn. But gonna be just let's see if he hit 1-4 once again. Oh my god, I can't believe it.
What?
This day has been absolutely insane.
I love esports. Oh my gosh, every time I load up Hearthstone, I'm just like, man, I'm so glad I'm a part of esports. I love casting it, watching it, playing it. And that's what we're watching right here, witnessing truly the pinnacle, the greatest moment.
That is the game.
Chinese esports.
I mean, Pegy went from 100% losing that game, or like 95% losing that game, to 100% he's going to win now.
I was going to say, that 5%, that's where this is. What on earth are we watching? Assuming
that he missed. If he misses that,
right,
it's basically 90%, 95% that he loses, like, and now it's 100% that he wins.
Yeah.
And even in the previous game, it was he had to hit that 1-4, or else he pretty much lost. I'm gonna just take off my caster, hat here and say that's disgusting, and Pegy shouldn't have won that. I don't know. I mean, I think we've just seen 2 series in a row where I think the less deserving player has won.
Well, to be fair, just like Shrink was mentioning about how he really hopes that LiBo advances because he draws really well, being able to have RNG on your side too